This is the veteran of the Chinese team, Liya, her 6th trip to the United States. Told us yesterday, and it was great to hear, that the team will bring back many chocolates and hair clips, and how frightened she was when one of the younger members of the team's first sight on American television was the World Wrestling Federation. Maybe we owe her a national apology.
Beautiful opening, a triple twist. Over the last couple of years, she has been one of the strengths on the Chinese team on this apparatus. Another out of bounds. Those are valuable deductions. Like I said before, the Chinese are really trying to make some changes and go in different directions, especially with their music. That's been one of the criticisms in the past.
A woman who's been here so often she can hum the United States national anthem.
And unfortunately, she's not at full strength. She had an injury at last year's World Championships, did her ankle in, so we're not seeing the explosiveness that we typically see from her on this exercise.
But actually, in the training for the competition, her tumbling was nowhere near at this level. Once again, too much power, though, can be just as bad in gymnastics, and she's a little bit off center, so that takes her out of bounds and that step forward.
Outwardly, there's no pressure. A lot of smiles. Our Chinese interpreter, Jian Wang, said the female coach told her, "We told you to smile and you didn't." The male coach said, "You went out of bounds again." Meanwhile, the Romanians hope Maria Olaru there can overcome the score of Istorescu, 8.85 in the background. The Americans want to overcome Vanessa Atler's score on the uneven bars, and Kristen Maloney is next up.
You know what's really interesting, Al, that in the past, Kristen Maloney used to have such difficulty on the uneven bars, just like Vanessa Atler, but she made serious changes to this routine. It's now scored out of a 10.0. She even has 2 moves named after her. There's the first one. That's called the Maloney.
And right here, she'll do a full spin after a toe-on, toe-off. But I think this was an excellent strategy for her coaches. They actually kind of just scrapped everything they were doing and went a totally different direction. They also changed the dismount, makes it a lot more consistent.
And she has been hitting.
I'll tell you, that's not the only thing that Kristen Maloney's had to overcome. She's had to overcome the bright spotlight on Vanessa Atler and Kristy Powell to make a name for herself, and that's happening right before our very eyes here.
All right. Thank you.
Donna Strauss.
Thank you.
You know, she's become 4 events deep. There isn't a weak spot for Kristen Maloney. Here's the skill. It's a Shaposhnikova, named after a famous Russian athlete, but right through to this skill, it's now the Maloney.
And in this sport, you don't get cooler than having your own move. 9.675. More from Knoxville in a moment. Romanian coach Octavian Bolu, frustrated, walking all over the gym here in Knoxville, Tennessee. He sees that his team has failed to take a chance. Meanwhile, the Chinese team in third after the first rotation, all smiles. This is Claudia Presecan. Struggled on the bars in the first rotation, and Romania needs her now.
Well, she's been around for quite some time. Unfortunately, she missed the '96 Olympic team because of an ankle injury. But, you know, it's interesting. Tim and I have been watching her in practice, and we really feel that this athlete could go the distance till the 2000 Olympics. But Belu doesn't feel the same. He says, you know, she's a big talent, but that's what she accepts. She works very hard. She's a good team person, but I can't see her making 2000. Really interesting.
He's an interesting character and very, very honest. As I'm told, he's been known to watch the littlest gymnast do a triple whatever across the floor, look at her parents, think that they were too tall, and say, next.
Yeah, he can be a little bit tough at times, to say the least. I remember, however, him saying the same thing about Milosevic, that he didn't anticipate her holding on to 96, and she was one of his big stars.
What you'll find with the Romanian balance beam routines is they're consistent. Typically, they stick. But they're all pretty much the same. They tend to do the same type of skills, nothing too overly exciting. There are a couple of girls on the team that will throw some very risky elements, but typically their choreography is the same.
Just the dismount here, double back. Well, certainly a very strong exercise, as Elfie mentioned, but it really doesn't ever knock your socks off.
She doesn't seem thrilled, and unlike the scene on the Chinese side, nobody's running up to give her a smile and a high five. Now, Chen of the Chinese team told us she loves to close her eyes and visualize success before every rotation. Let's see if she does it here.
Probably one of the strongest athletes on this event. She has a couple of dynamic tumbling passes that are of top quality.
It was just sort of a long blink before the gong. She must visualize in fast speed. Does that hurt?
Landing forward, a little short on the ankles, believe me, it does.
Actually, for some people, more than you could possibly imagine. I had bad ankles throughout my career, and I cringe every time I see that.
Triple twist to end.
A little Chinese cha-cha from Chen. Chinese trying to overcome their third place standing after the first rotation. The Romanians have bobbled a bit here. Kristy Powell of the United States, after the vault of 9.462, will now perform in her last rotation for the Americans. Why is that?
Well, her strongest events are vault and the uneven bar. She's been having some problems since the American Cup. I spoke with Mary Lee Tracy, and she said, I don't know what to expect at this competition. They want her to feel success again. Here's an event where she can score big.
Yeah, I got to tell you, though, this is like a walk in the park for Kristy Powell. Uneven bars. Great event for her.
She swings so beautifully, and look at the toe point. That is absolutely impressive.
Release skill way up in the sky right here. Carbon copy every time.
Loving it in Tennessee. A very together woman. Graduated high school when she was 16. Lived alone at the time.
I know how men's I know.
Confidence shattered just weeks ago in Fort Worth at the American Cup. And yes, Mary Lee Tracy said she can feel how happy Kristy Powell is. The score for Chen 9.175. And guys, Kristy Powell met her boyfriend at TGI Fridays. There's hope no matter where you hang out. Her score 9.775. Claudia Presecan 9.5.